Welcome to the Business of Apparel podcast. This is the place to learn how to start and scale your own apparel brand and fill it with loyal customers for years to come. I'm your host, Rachel Erickson, owner and CEO of Unmarked Street, and I can't wait to share this episode with you. Welcome back to the Business of Apparel podcast. This is week 3 of our 40 to 40 series where I am letting you get to know me a little bit better by revealing a lot of different things that I don't usually talk about in our marketing or in our social media. And the hope is that you can figure out whether this is the right community for you by learning a little bit more about me, because at the end of the day, Unmarked Street and the Business of Apparel, my businesses, are me and I am them. So last week, first of all, I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. We were talking a lot about my life growing up in the Midwest. We were talking a lot about my family. And I mentioned that my husband and I were watching The Bear, and we were in the middle of the really long Christmas episode in season 2. And I had mentioned how I felt like there were a lot of parallels to my family in that episode, like just how there were so many people in the house and the energy and the loudness and sometimes the yelling and just that kind of energy. I also mentioned last week that I was only about halfway through the episode because we had paused it halfway through because it ended up being longer than we thought. And we ended up watching the rest of the episode throughout the last week. And I have to say that I just want to put a disclaimer out there. The level that they took it to on The Bear, where the family got a little bit out of hand, a car, I think, even went through the side of the house. Like, that is not representative of my family. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that my family never really took it to that level, but we did have that like big family energy that was going on in the episode at the beginning. So little disclaimer there, I didn't want to throw my family under the bus because we have never really taken it to that level, or at least not that I am aware of. In this week's episode, I wanted to give you something a little bit juicier. We have been doing some kind of secretive stuff like that's a little bit surface level, like stuff that I definitely haven't shared a ton, but it's not stuff that really scares me to share. And so this week, I really wanted to be brave. There is a topic that I would like to talk about that I have never really shared publicly. It's something that my husband and I rarely even talk about with people that we're close with. Only really a handful of people really know the real story. And so coming off of the family episode where I talk quite a bit about growing up in the Midwest, kind of having Midwest values, and growing up Catholic, kind of having those morals and that kind of a lifestyle kind of impressed upon me at a really young age, I want to bring up today that my husband and I are child-free by choice. Now, this is kind of the verbiage that we in this community prefer to use, either kid-free or child-free. A lot of people will refer to us as childless or kidless, and we don't really see it as a less than lifestyle. We see it as a free lifestyle. And it was a choice that I am going to be really, really honest with you. It was an incredibly hard choice for me to make in particular. And it ended up really coming down to me to make that choice. My husband was incredibly supportive of whatever choice we decided we wanted to make. He was going to absolutely be there as an amazing father and an amazing husband, and he was going to support that decision if I decided having kids was something that I really wanted to do, and being a mom was something that I really wanted to do. But he was also the one who kind of planted a new idea in my head saying, this is a choice that we get to make. And I want to bring that up because I think there are so many people out there who don't take a beat and realize that it is absolutely 100% a choice that you get to make for your life. And I have so many family members and we have so many friends who got married really young, like right out of college, or maybe even while they were still in college. And it just felt like the next natural progression of life was to get pregnant and start having kids. And Kyle and I didn't do that. We took quite a while to kind of figure out, I mean, you've heard our moving story by now. We moved around a lot. We were trying to figure out where we wanted to be. There came a point in my life where in my early 30s, between like 31 and 32, I really did have that craving that a lot of other women talk about too, that bug to really become a mom and have a baby and have children running around the house. I actually, as I was growing up, a lot of the jobs that I took on were in like the babysitting and nanny realm. So I used to babysit a lot. When I was 12 years old, I went to the Red Cross and I got certified in babysitting. I learned how to do CPR and learned how to do first aid and care for young children and for infants. And so I ended up actually becoming certified as a Red Cross babysitter. And so at 12 years old, I was able to start babysitting for neighbors and kids around the neighborhood. And as I kind of got a little bit older in my latter years of high school and early years of college, I was able to actually do some nanny work for some of those same kids that I babysat when I was even younger. And I was able to watch them all day, kind of take care of them while their parents were away at work. And so it became almost kind of like a full-time job. I had this knowledge of what it kind of takes to be able to take care of babies and what it takes to be able to take care of children and how much energy it requires and the kinds of things when you're having a bad day. What does that look like? When you're having a great day, what does that look like? And when I think back to that time, having the energy of an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old being able to run around with these kids that I was nannying for is very different from where I probably was at 30. And even though I had that bug, Kyle and I had talked about it for a really long time. We knew that this was something that was going to be a discussion for us. And a lot of people always gave us the advice, don't get married until you know the answers to all of these questions. Don't get married until you know what kind of goals your spouse is going to have, until you know what kind of lifestyle your spouse wants to have, until you know where your spouse is going to want to live, until you know, do they want kids or not? Like, these are all very essential things. And I am going to admit to you that we went into our marriage knowing 100% that that was going to be a decision we were going to make later in our marriage. And we had some really big discussions about it at certain times. And at the end of the day, Kyle is my very best friend. He and I have a wonderful marriage, incredibly supportive of each other. I can't imagine being with anybody else. I can't imagine having someone else be willing to move across the country as many times as we have for me to find different work or for us to be happy. I can't imagine being with someone else who would have been so supportive of me starting this business. Like, Kyle takes on a lot of burden having to support us in our lifestyle while I get this business up and running. And so when I think about that, like him being my best friend and him being basically the center of my life, it was really important for me to make sure that no matter what, our marriage was going to continue to be a priority and he was going to continue to get to be my best friend. So, like I said, we were about 31, 32. We were having a lot of really big discussions. If you know me, I really like to go read about everything. I got several different books. The Baby Matrix is a really interesting book that I actually read. Kid-Free and Loving It was something that I read. I actually read What to Expect While You're Expecting to understand what it was like to be pregnant. Like, I really got into it. I wanted to learn what it would be like to have all of these different opportunities, right? What was it going to be like to be pregnant? What was it going to be like to have kids? What was it going to be like to not have kids? And what were the alternative lifestyles that we could potentially put forward for ourselves? And so I did a lot of that. We were having a lot of big discussions. He was always very upfront and vocal that he was here to be with me too. Like, our marriage was going to survive. He was going to be a great dad and he was going to be an amazing husband if that's what we chose to do. And I hit 32 and I kind of just got to this point where I realized I really wasn't ready to have kids. It wasn't something that I felt like I wanted at that time. And a lot of people say to me, like, well, if you're never ready, right? Like, you just have to jump in and do it. But I really want to challenge the thinking on that, because I think there are a lot of people who aren't ready to have kids and do it anyway, and then realize that that feeling they had of not being ready was probably the right feeling to follow, because they don't end up loving their lives with kids. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to like knock having kids at all. I love kids. I am the best auntie on the planet. I love having nephews. I love having nieces. I love to spoil them every time I'm around. Anytime I see a baby or anytime I see little kids running around, like I melt. And Kyle's always laughing at me because it's something that I am a nut for kids. I think they're amazing. But it just didn't end up being something for us. And I really wanted to follow that feeling that made me feel like I was not ready for it. It was not something that I wanted in my life. And the more that I explored what life could be potentially without kids, I got really intrigued and I got really interested and I got really excited about the opportunity to have the kind of income where we can travel all of the time. And we've done some really amazing epic trips over to Europe over the last decade, taking advantage of the fact that we have freedom of time, we have freedom of budget. We can go at a time of the year where we're not thinking about school schedules, we're just thinking about our work schedules. There are a lot of amazing opportunities that we've built into our life because we've made this really tough choice. And so I just want to throw out that that is there for you. It is not something that you are required to do. You are absolutely not required to have children if it is not on your heart. If it is not something that you want, and if it is not something that feels like it's going to give you the kind of life that you want. Are you frustrated by feeling like an outsider in your own industry? You're not alone. I spent years feeling the same way. Are you tired of endless research and you can only learn this stuff by getting a job in fashion advice? Me too. That's why I created the Business of Apparel online course. My years of insider knowledge condensed into video tutorials, demos, and downloads. Learn at your own pace, no fluff. Just key topics like building target profiles and mastering financials. This information is genuinely unavailable anywhere else. Grow your brand, become an apparel industry aficionado, and unlock millions in potential revenue. The value? Over $50,000 with millions potential for your brand. Don't miss out. Sign up for the Business of Apparel online course today at thebusinessofapparel.com/course. Now, so many different people, like I was saying before, always say, you're just never ready. You're never ready. You have to jump in. You have to just do it. And I think that there are some people who do jump in and they have these wonderful relationships with their kids and they realize all of these amazing reasons why they wanted to be parents. And those are the people 100% all day, every day, who are the great parents who should absolutely be having kids, raising the next generation of people to come up and be loved and be strong leaders and be intelligent. And while I do think that Kyle and I could have done that too, we absolutely could have, I think, raised great kids. We made this very alternative choice and we decided to do something different with our lives. And I don't know if Unmarked Street and the Business of Apparel would be here if we had chosen a different path. So there is a lot about this business that's available to me and therefore available to you because I made this really tough choice almost 10 years ago to not become a mom and to not have kids at that time and open up my life opportunities to be able to start a business from scratch and to be able to have the income to support us and the savings to support us to be able to do that in hopes of being able to do bigger and better things on this planet. And now I used to believe for a really long time, especially when I was a kid, that, my purpose in life was going to be becoming a mom and raising kids to be good people. And so there is a lot that kind of comes with that when you don't realize that dream or you don't make that choice for yourself when you're an adult. And so I will say there is a very deep longing inside of me to figure out what it is that is going to replace that as my purpose. And now, right, we're counting down to celebrate my 40th birthday. I'm only 40 years old. We're probably not even looking at a midlife crisis yet with how long people live these days. But there is definitely something kind of that's in me that's, how can I do better things for the planet? How can I do better things for my employees and offer jobs to people that they love? How can I make an impact on this industry that is going to make waves for the future. And there is a lot of that that's on my heart, which is why I really push so hard for this business, because I want to bring those values and all of that energy and all of those amazing traits that I may have given to the next generation if I had become a mom. How do I do that in a different way now? How do I support the next generation in my own way as a business owner and as a leader and as a little bit of an oddball out when it comes to women my age? Because I will say, usually when I walk into the room and people don't know me, one of the first things they ask me about is my kids. And I tend to have to say, oh, no, I don't have any. And the thing that we really like to say, we keep it super simple: no kids, no pets. So we don't even have dog babies or cats or anything like that. We don't have any pets. We don't have kids. And so we keep our lives simple like that. Like, we can get up and go on a vacation at the drop of a dime if we really want to be spontaneous. We can leave the house and go for a really long walk or go for a really long bike ride at any point of any day, because we don't really have those other obligations that we need to worry about. The dog doesn't need to go for a walk. The cat doesn't need to be fed. We don't need to worry about the kids' schedules. And that freedom has definitely been something that has really become a beautiful way of living for us. And so, again, if this is something that you are kind of coming up on this time in your life and you've been questioning it, maybe you really want kids, but your partner doesn't, or maybe vice versa, or maybe you've both always really wanted kids, but never even thought about whether that was right for you. I just encourage you to take a beat, take a moment, take just a second with each other and make sure that you confirm that that is 100% the choice that you want to make, because again, it is absolutely a choice that you get to make to have kids. And for the people out there who don't feel like it's a choice, maybe something happened where they got pregnant and they didn't mean to. Look, I am not trying to knock anybody. I am not trying to say anything about anybody else's lifestyle choice. I'm just trying to let you into a window a little bit of my lifestyle choices. But I do believe that there are definitely ways that you can steer your life in a way that is led by your desires and led by your choices if you desire to do so. And so a lot of that comes with hard work. A lot of that comes with a strong mentality and a strong personality when it comes to it. A lot of it takes huge amounts of courage. I will say there was a really long time where we kind of just skirted the issue with the family, like with our parents and with our siblings and with aunts and uncles and everybody else who asked us about it. We just kind of said, oh, we don't know. And when we did, we absolutely did know that we were making the choice to be child-free. And we decided we didn't really want to talk to a lot of different people about it. And I will say, hopefully, this episode or this information helped just one person realize that they can make a different alternative choice for their life. And there's a little bit of regret that I have that I didn't talk about it more openly at the time, because I wonder if there's someone who I could have positively affected by sharing my real story or sharing my real decision. That's also a big reason why I'm out here doing this right now, why I want to share the kinds of choices that I've made, the kind of lifestyle that we lead, and some of the things that have led me to where I am today. So if you would like to learn any more about being child-free by choice, there are a lot of amazing communities out there that support people who have chosen to be kid-free. I have not really joined any of the groups. It's something that I've looked into in the past, and there are amazing books out there if you're interested in exploring all of the different ways that you can make choices for your life as you move forward into this arena of whether or not you decide you want to have kids. And if you're interested in learning about what some of those other books are, I'd be happy to give you recommendations. You can always reach out to me at unmarkstreet.com/contact. I will say, the reason I haven't shared a lot of this is because some people find it really controversial. There are a lot of people who have called me extremely selfish for not deciding to have kids. There are a lot of people who think that something's wrong with me because I didn't have kids. And that harshness and that like taking away of the fact that this was a decision that I made for the better of my life and trying to make me feel bad about it, really makes this a difficult subject. And so if you are scared to move forward and make this decision because you're afraid of what your mom is going to think or what your grandmother might say to you, or you genuinely think that you might miss out on something, that you have to make this decision now that's going to affect essentially the rest of your life. Trust me, I get there. I have been exactly in your shoes, and I know how scary it can be. I know how tough it can be to talk about it, because there might be people out there right now who are listening to this and say, I don't want to be a part of her community anymore because I can't be with someone who could be that selfish, or I can't be with someone who could never support having kids. And that's not what I'm saying at all. I absolutely support whatever lifestyle you also choose. But there's always kind of a really negative, there's a harsh reaction, I think, to this kind of information. And so if you are feeling that in your heart right now, and this episode made you a little bit angry, I encourage you to reach out to me. Like, let's have dialogue. Let's talk about it. Let's understand what makes you upset about that. And maybe I can help open a door for you that you didn't even know was there. There are other lifestyles and there are other ways of living that are absolutely acceptable, and people get to make their own choice on how they want to live and who they want to be with for the rest of their life. And that's what's beautiful about it. That's what's beautiful about choice. And that's what's beautiful about decisions that we get to make for ourselves. So please reach out to me again if there's anything that I can do for you. If you'd like to leave a comment, I ask that you please be kind, but please leave comments below this video in YouTube if you are watching. And if you are listening to the podcast, we would love for you to leave a review anytime. It means the world to us. So thank you so much. This was a big one for me, and we'll be back next week to share some other secrets. See you then. Thank you so much for listening to the Business of Apparel podcast. I would so appreciate hearing your thoughts on the show. And if you know someone who could benefit from it, please share it with them. My biggest desire is to help other apparel professionals understand the nuances of our industry so we can all work toward making better product for a better world. If you would like to connect further, I'd love to invite you to send me a message through my website, thebusinessofapparel.com, where I do weekly trainings through my YouTube video channel, a weekly newsletter, blog articles, and so many more resources to help you start and scale a profitable apparel brand. This podcast is produced by Box 7 Media, who I cannot speak highly enough of. If you're looking to start your own podcast, you can reach out to Jeremy at Box 7 Media on LinkedIn anytime.